Good evening, please, and welcome to XTV's news broadcast for Monday, November 11, 2024. Making the headlines tonight, Minister confirms the government has backtracked from KHMHA board change. The Minister defends accountability in Drug Inspectorate mechanism, and does supplementary appropriation betray elections are set for March? Parafit says, call elections now. We take our first break and return with the news in detail.
only at Penny's Quality and Savings.
Welcome back. With your news, I am Marisol Amaya. The National Trade Union Congress of Belize, NTUCB, reported that after its meeting with Prime Minister Jan Bersenio and the Minister of the Public Service, Henry Usher, 2 Fridays ago, it was agreed that the government would not forge ahead with its recent proposed amendment of the Carl Hirschner Memorial Hospital Authority Act. The intention was to switch out a hospital union representative for a member of the NTUCB. Another House meeting is set to be held tomorrow, Tuesday, November 12. We note that this bill is on the agenda, and Minister of Health and Wellness, Honorable Kevin Bernard, today confirmed that it is to withdraw the bill. This morning, when we spoke with him, he had not yet been apprised of the Prime Minister's discussion with the NTUCB as he was traveling. He therefore discussed some of the issues he says they were having with the union representative on the board.
There's many reasons why, and I thank you for the opportunity to talk about this, but there's many reasons why we felt at the ministry that we were to synchronize, but basically synchronize. If you look at other boards, most of the union members that sits on a board are representative of the NTUCB. If I'm not mistaken, there's one board. I think it's Social Security. I'm not so sure. I don't want to misquote myself, but I think there's a union that represents the workers of the Social Security, if I'm not mistaken. But they don't sit. Yeah, they don't sit as a member of the board because they are. Remember, the KHMH union represents the workers. And they are, right now, they have been tasked, in fact, the union representative who sits on the board, and I will not go through my own personal perception and views of Mr. Beard. That's outside of this. Has been given umpteen times to come up with a CBA that will best approach the issues that the workers and the employees of KHMH that falls under the union have been clamoring for. We have not gotten a single document to propose to the board.
You mean an updated one, Minister?
Yes, an updated CBA, because they were to present a collective bargaining agreement that will best address many issues that they have raised over the years.
But have you established that it's the doing only of the president, because a union is not just its president?
Well, this is where we have a problem. I cannot speak for the membership. The union who sat on the board was given time off on a regular basis. Remember, he's an employee of the KHMH. He was given time off. I think it's 2 days of a week for over the past 3 years to come up with something, and has not done so. Yet, when there's deliberations at the board level and decisions are made at the board level that will better enhance the work at the KHMH, sometimes there is a lot of issues with the member. It's not necessarily the member, but conflicts that the board makes decision and then he goes and says something else. It's not a healthy relationship.
The minister has since confirmed that 2 names have been suggested by the union to replace KHMHA Workers Union President Andrew Beard on the board. The Ministry of Health and Wellness embarked on the drafting of new legislation that will replace the Food and Drug Registration, Licensing and Inspection regulations. This law has to do with pharmaceuticals and their importation. The ministry says the new legislation is being designed to meet the current needs in the sector and to ensure the safety and efficacy of medicine available to Belizeans. Some, however, are concerned that the new regulations are meant to remove safeguards regarding the quality of medication. We put this to the Minister of Health and Wellness, Honorable Kevin Bernard.
I don't think so. I think that now that you have seen that the ministry when we created the drug inspectorate unit, in fact, we brought in our chief drug inspectorate. Unfortunately, she has left to the private sector. However, we have somebody else who has returned from her degree, and I think we are going to be promoting that individual into that post.
But is that a senior person or just coming out of university?
No, this is a person who was at the ministry, went to do study leave, coming back. Had been working for years as a drug inspector. She was already a drug inspector, has the experience, has the capacity, and now comes back with the necessary degree to ensure that she could fit that capacity. She will act in that capacity. Remember, we cannot make appointments. It's the public service who has to make the appointment. And so, but my point is that since I took over this ministry, in fact, since this government, I would say that, because even under the previous minister, there was steps that were being done to enhance this type of issue. You have seen where our drug inspectorate unit, our inspectors have been out doing their work. If it was not because of them, we would not have been able to pick up on many of these issues that we've seen. We have won cases where we have seen contraband medications coming in, where we have seized, and we work very closely with the Customs and Police Department, and that just proves that work has been going on by that unit. We are serious when it comes to ensuring that the pharmaceuticals, the medications are coming into this country is of standard, and that's one of the reasons why our people go out and do constant investigations, constant review of facilities across the country, private and public, and we need to ensure that this is safety of our people. So to say that this amendment to the Drug Act that we are proposing is going to allow these pharmaceutical companies to do the same thing or more, that is not so. We're trying to strengthen it. We're trying to bring in more penalties to ensure that we do not see the repeat of these type of things.
We have since confirmed that the staff member referenced by the minister had only been a drug inspector for less than 5 years before leaving to study and is from a stalwart PUP family. The minister explained that they are reviewing the bill before it goes to the National Assembly. He says they will decide which one is appointed. At the last House meeting that was held on October 18, there was a supplementary budget appropriation for additional spending outside of the regular budget. Interestingly, one line item under the portfolio of elections and boundaries points to $343,787 for the purpose of general election. This is being taken as confirmation that the general elections will be called early and very likely in March of 2025. That's because the annual budget is tabled in March every year, and this is coming before then. The Prime Minister alone has the power to decide when elections will be called. Well, today, UDP lead opposition Senator Michael Perafit called on the government to call elections now. As the supplementary was being debated in the Senate, he pointed to the line item on the general election and said they wholly support the supplementary. Rumors abound that elections will be called early and more than likely for March next year.
I see something here. In the supplemental for general elections. Now that one line item, Madam President, I fully support, and we fully support. The rest we do not support. So, Madam President, I urge the government to use this money, use every penny to call the general elections now, because you're budgeting for it. And if it comes in a budgetary, if it comes in a supplementary that is in a budget cycle that will end in March 2025, it means clearly then that the general elections is going to be before the end of March 2025. So don't be secret about it, Madam President. Say what you're going to use with the, well, no, to be fair, you're saying what you're using it for, general elections, $343,787. So, Madam President, what they should do the leader of government business should announce the date for the elections. Announce the date for the elections and we will support it. Tomorrow it's too late.
The Ministry of Health recently investigated a report of misappropriation of funds by a member of staff. Minister of Health and Wellness Honourable Kevin Bernard this morning shared general details, saying the matter is now being dealt with in court.
There were an allegation that was made. In fact, I can tell you, when I got the report, I got the call, we started the investigation. I asked the CEO to look into the matter, and we found that there were some improprieties done at the Southern Regional Hospital. However, I cannot speak to the issue because it's going to be in the court, and so I don't want to divulge anything at this point in time that will affect us in terms of this case. We are going. All I'm saying is that we did our investigation. It's matter now in the hands of the police, who will take the matter to the court, and from there, then we can provide a better response.
After the break, 2 injured in Karzal shooting, including minor. Stay with us.
The Belizean American
where you are better off alive than dead. Freetown Drugstore, telephone 223-2876.
Welcome back. The news continues. The Minister of Health today also spoke about allegations based on a photograph that had been recently circulated on social media of an attendant at the San Ignacio Community Hospital passed out in the hallway.
I have seen several versions of things. As I said, we take any issue, any complaints that comes to the ministry very seriously, but we do it through the necessary processes. If it was my private employment, my private job, it would have been dealt differently. But we have government regulation, public service regulation that we have to follow, and so we must give due process to go through, and then we take the necessary action that needs to be done. There are processes that has been done to address these issues, and so we are just making sure that we are able to address them based on those issues.
The case of misappropriation of funds was at the Southern Regional Hospital, where there's also an investigation into a case of sexual assault. The minister affirmed that the case was investigated and said we cannot generalize that there are widespread issues at that hospital in particular.
I think it's an unfortunate situation that occurred, but you cannot say this is a culture at the Southern Regional. You're putting everybody in the same wrong shoe. That's wrong to say that, man. And you need to correct that. I do not agree that we can put every one of our health professionals that are working hard to improve health outcomes in this country in the shoe of somebody who made us a terrible, grave error. That is another matter that is going before the necessary processes. As you know, if a person is permanently employed, he has to go to the commission. We will not hold back on any investigation or anything, anybody doing any wrongdoing. I've said this from the very beginning. We will go through the processes that has to be followed, but we do it by the rule of law.
Taking you up north, on Saturday, a house on Pine Street in Curzal Town came under gunfire. After the incident, 2 persons in the home were injured, Glenn Suazo and a 6-year-old boy. Police say both received medical treatment and were released. According to ACP Gilberto Romero, police have not detained any suspect as yet.
Then on Saturday, the 9th day of November, there was a shooting at Pine Street in Curzal. Police visited a house where they saw some bullet holes. Investigation revealed that 2 persons had been taken for treatment at the hospital. The persons were identified as Glenn Suazan, a 6-year-old minor. They received injuries. They were treated, thereafter released from the hospital. Investigation is ongoing into this matter. No persons are detained reference this shooting.
Around 1 a.m. on Sunday in San Pedro on Burgresky, Eric Williams was driving his motorcycle when he lost control and crashed into a lamppost. Williams was rushed for medical attention but succumbed to his injuries. ACP Gilberto Romero shared more earlier today.
On Sunday, the 10th day of November 2024, there was a fatal road traffic accident in San Pedro. Police visited an area around 1 a.m. where they saw a motorcycle with damages. Also, they saw the body of a male person. The person was taken to the hospital for treatment, where he succumbed to his injuries. He was identified as Eric Williams of San Pedro. Investigation revealed that he was riding his motorcycle when he crashed into a lamppost. Thereafter, he was taken and succumbed to his injuries.
And at this time, we'll share part 4 of my Gillnet ban update. Apart from the replenishment of the fish stock seen by Mejia in Barranco and near the Sarstoon River mouth, fishermen elsewhere are also reporting replenishment for which they credit the Gillnet ban. The increase in the fish stock in some areas is particularly significant, especially given that fishers are also reporting an absence of other fish, which they attribute to climate change impacts pushing them into deeper waters.
Well, yes, it could be seen from morning. You could see the fish jumping. It's got the mackerel, it got the bunnyfish, and we could see more stingrays up there too.
Mar Alliance, another coalition member, has been conducting research on stock replenishment after the ban and told us, quote, "We are seeing scientific evidence that the ban has worked in some areas, coupled with other management measures put in place, and, quote, they are currently putting together their report." Despite the successes of the gillnet ban, gillnets are still being found in our marine waters. The commandant of the Belize Coast Guard, Rear Admiral Elton Bennett, shared some alarming figures.
From time to time, we still recover gillnet, particularly in the south. Last year, we recovered miles of gillnets, weighing to almost about a ton of gillnets. The area that is most active is that area along our southern border with Belize, Guatemala, and Belize, Honduras.
PG-based sports fisher Dennis Garbut confirms gillnet fishers are still very active in the south.
When we go to the PG market or on Facebook, they're advertising snook. I even talked to some of the guys. They say, "Mr. Garbut, we have snook, but we not sell you because it caught from gillnet." And I am one of those guys who practice sustainability, and they know that, so they won't sell me the snook. And it's on the market with the gillnet mark on it. So gillnet is still active in the south.
In response to our own FOIA request submitted by 4 journalists and the BFF, the Fisheries Department reported that since the ban and up to August 7 this year, they had confiscated 55 gillnets from north to south. The sponsors of the ban are none too happy that just 6 months after taking office in November 2020, the PUP administration overturned the restriction prohibiting permanent residents from fishing in our waters. Critics argue this is a quid pro quo for votes, as permanent residency is a path to citizenship after 5 years. The PUP was also the party which originally granted permanent residents the right to fish in Belize's waters. The sponsors deemed the regulation as the corollary to the gillnet ban, but in his explanation of the new SI, Blue Economy Minister Honorable Abner Andre Perez spoke to those permanent residents actually living in Belize, saying the country has a responsibility to provide them equal opportunities to care for their families. He did not address the concern that over the years, a number of permanent residents licensed to fish have been Guatemalans and Hondurans believed not to actually reside in Belize.
It's just hard to understand why you would choose to disenfranchise Belize and bring foreign fishers to deplete our products, which our fishers are saying is less than what it used to be.
Though we requested the data under the FOIA, the Fisheries Department failed to provide the list of permanent resident license holders for the years 2017 and 2018. It only shared the list for 2021 to 2023, citing that the ban on permanent residents was overturned in 2021. There were 16 licensed permanent resident fishers in 2021, 6 of whom were reported to be from the south. In 2022 and 2023, the licensed permanent resident fishers had grown to 24 and 34 respectively. For both those years, 12 and 14 respectively, were reported to be from the south. Notably, at a Fisheries Council meeting, a breakdown of nationality for permanent residents for the year 2021 showed that of these 16 individuals, 3 were Guatemalan, 9 were Honduran, and 4 were from the USA. We have confirmed that currently 1,372 fishers are registered for the Caribbean coast of Guatemala that borders Belize at the Sarstoon. We spoke with Jose Domingo Cal, the General Coordinator of APRO Sarstoon, which organizes community assistance and programs for fishers in the Caribbean coast of Guatemala.
Por ejemplo, aquí en Sarstoon específicamente, muchos pescadores que son residentes de Barra Sarstoon tienen la doble nacionalidad, tienen la nacionalidad guatemalteca y la nacionalidad beliceña, y eso es lo que les permite entrar y salir sin ningún problema a Belice. Pero sí, más o menos, ese es el número también, tal vez unos 25 o 30, unas 30 personas tal vez, lo más creo yo. Pero mayormente están radicados en Barazarzú. Y hay unos cuantos aquí en Livingston Cabecera.
The use of gill nets is regulated in Guatemala, but according to Cal, infractions also abound there. He told us the conversation about a gill net ban has been raised of late at the annual roundtable with fishers and authorities regarding the different closed seasons. However, he says the matter is a bit complicated.
Anteriormente no se podía sacar este tema en esas reuniones porque sí era muy complicado, era un tema muy sensible porque tocar este tema con los pescadores es muy complicado, ¿verdad?
Guatemalan Marine Fisheries Inspector Mario Salazar admitted that they too have enforcement limitations regarding gillnet use, and sourcing fuel is often an issue.
Hay mapas que explican dónde no se debe pescar. Y ahí volvemos a lo mismo, que el tema es control y vigilancia, va a mantener a los pescadores. A veces si hay quien compre, va a haber quien venda.
The enduring problem of illegal transboundary fishing continues to be a bone in the throat of our Belizean fishers.
But the thing is that I am saving it, and then other people, when I said I'm not Belizean, but they have better license than us, and they are destroying it, and then we don't get the benefit that they get.
In the case of the waters off the coast of Barranco and near the mouth of the Sarstoon River, fishers say the Belize Coast Guard patrols since 2020, when the force established a Barranco outpost, has been the cause of the Guatemalan fishers no longer frequenting those waters as they once did. However, Ryan Moore, the Protected Areas Manager at Toledo Institute for Development and Environment, TIDE, affirmed Guatemalan fishers have started using areas of Belizean waters further away from the reach of marine reserve co-managers and their rangers.
However, what we've noticed now is that these gill nets are now being set outside of the Port Honduras Marine Reserve. This is the area that is in border with the expanded Sapodela Keys Marine Reserve, because that area was expanded. And so there's an area whereby no marine reserve is within that, and that area is also the EEZ. And we don't have any enforcement occurring within that area, and there is quite a number of gill nets being set. We don't know exactly how much gill nets are being set, but we do know that whenever we would move in the area, whether it's us as the enforcement agency or stakeholders, they would actively retrieve nets from that area. So we know that the area is being used a lot.
After the break, an updated breastfeeding policy is launched after 28 years. Stay tuned.
For you, it could be a damaged fender or bumper, but for us, it's our lives.
In recent years, there have been a few pharmacists who have graduated from the University of Belize and have immediately opened private pharmacies. These pharmacists may have obtained their degrees and their licenses, but should they not first obtain years of experience or ensure they have supervision of a seasoned pharmacist? The Minister of Health and Wellness, Honorable Kevin Bernard, defended the practice, declaring that a pharmacist is a pharmacist based on their education, regardless of experience level.
But a pharmacist is a pharmacist. You study to become a pharmacist. You can't tell somebody who is you. For example, you come out of you do an associate or a business master's in a business administration, and you want to do your business. Not because you don't have the experience. You have studied to run a pharmacy. You have studied what governs them is the rules that are set out within the country, the policies in terms of policy. So I don't see that as an issue. I think we must give people opportunity to become young entrepreneurs. We must encourage small businesses.
Today in Belize City, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, in collaboration with PAHO and UNICEF, launched an updated national breastfeeding policy for the country, outlining the goals for the next 10 years. The previous policy was launched way back in 1996, and during his presentation, Minister of Health and Wellness, Honorable Kevin Bernard, said an update was long overdue. Bernard added that it will be an initiative that doesn't just rely on the Ministry of Health to implement.
As I said in my message, it's 26 years, too long. I think that in any developing country, in any country, when you set policies, especially health policies, it should be within a 10-year span, because it has to be reviewed. It has to be, these policies are living documents. It's as time changes, you need to adapt to certain things, you need to adapt to certain conditions. And so it's very important that we were able to put a team together. I want to thank the people at PAHO, UNICEF, our ministry, health planners, our directors who worked very hard over the last 3 years to ensure that we were able to develop this new policy. One that is progressive, one that is looking at ensuring that we are reaching our targets. As I said in our commitment, Belize need to reach our target, the national target, the international target set out by UNICEF in terms of 50% exclusive breastfeeding. We are at 33%, but we need to do more. And so it will involve everyone. It will involve education. It will involve our human development aspect of our ministry, involve the Ministry of Health, of course, but also involve our mothers and our children, our fathers including, because we need to ensure that from an educational side, people have to understand that breastfeeding is very critical. It's important for the growth of a child, and I use my daughter as an experience. She was breastfed from a very young age and up to when she left breastfeeding, and so it has developed her mind, and it creates a better educational opportunity for our young children.
The ministry's technical advisor in nutrition, Robin Daly-Faber, said that though the policy has been updated, some of the practices were already being implemented. She did outline some of the changes.
As you all know, breastfeeding is the first food that an infant gets, and it's the first form of nutrition. So when we look at breastfeeding also, we see who all is involved in the process of breastfeeding. We see nurses, we see nutritionists, we see health educators, we see our directors in terms of advocacy, legislation, and we also have our stakeholders and partners. So it's the entire team here today to do this launch. So even though our policy has been outdated, the actions have not changed. They have just been modified a little bit. So the new policy speaks to also looking at the code, the international code for marketing breast milk substitutes. And with that, this speaks to the advertising and the marketing of breast milk substitutes, which would be like formula or milk, things that would deter a mother from wanting to breastfeed. So that's included in the new policy, and different strategies that we want to do for advocacy, also support for breastfeeding in emergencies. That was lacking from the old policy. So as you know, when we're looking at disasters, women who are pregnant, women who are breastfeeding, we need to make sure that facilities have allowances for these women. So that is included in the new policy.
Daily Faber also emphasized the importance of healthy nutrition in a breastfeeding mother and added that the introduction of food to the infant's diet around 6 months of age is also important.
As you all know, breastfeeding is the first food that an infant gets, and it's the first form of nutrition. So when we look at breastfeeding also, we see who all is involved in the process of breastfeeding. We see nurses, we see nutritionists, we see health educators, we see our directors in terms of advocacy, legislation, and we also have our stakeholders and partners. So it's the entire team here today to do this launch.
Ma'am, we've heard that, you know, the last iteration of this policy was about 25 years ago. Let's talk a little bit about how this policy has changed between then and now.
Some of the key, so the last policy that we have was one in 1996. So that's 28 years ago. But some of the work that we do for breastfeeding has not changed.
The University of Belize on Saturday advised that if any student is found to be participating in or encouraging cyberbullying, they will be subject to disciplinary action, including potential suspension, and the matter will be reported to the police. The notice was shared on the university's Facebook page after faculty happened upon a Facebook page where the content demeaning to other students was being dumped. That included photos and comments meant to ridicule and embarrass, but also breaching the privacy of other students. It is believed several people may be behind the concerning page, which also used the logo of the university. In the wee hours of this morning, a blaze emerged from a residence on Freetown Road in Belize City next to Korea Electronics. The two-story structure was destroyed. According to Gladstone Buckner, officer commanding the Belize District for the National Fire Service, they have an idea what may have caused the fire, but the investigation is still ongoing. He did reveal that the structure had no electricity and was not insured.
As you can see behind me, we had a structural fire, a two-story building that actually burned down. We didn't have electricity at the time. We had people live downstairs. The upstairs is at this present time unknown if it was occupied.
And do you guys, have you managed to establish the cause of the fire as yet?
At this present moment, we have a slight idea, but we're still under investigation on determining the fire.
So in terms of damage and loss of property, what's that looking like?
It's completely destroyed. So the occupant lost everything, their homes. As far as we know, 2 persons live downstairs and the place wasn't insured.
Mr. Buckner, do you guys have an idea as to what portion of the structure the fire may have started?
Compared to fire burn analysis, it seems to have started in the center of the building.
Sir, we know that this building is incredibly old. Do you think, from your professional opinion, that played a hand in how quickly the structure was destroyed?
Yes, that played a major role. The older the building, the much faster it burns. Remember, fire doesn't wait on anyone. Consume very fast.
Maurice Francis Jr., whose father owns the building, said someone was living on the first floor, but she was not at home at the time. He shared contact information should anyone choose to assist the family.
Well, I was at home this morning, wake up like about 5:30, then, my daughter called me and said, Dad, he said, isn't that your house on Freetown burning? I told her, no, girl, you crazy, my house is not burning on Freetown. He said, yes, Daddy. He said, watch your picture that I show you. And when I see the picture, I was like, oh no, oh Lord, it's gone.
Was anybody living here at the time?
Well, we had a girl that stayed here so that they could watch the property so nobody want to vandalism it, because it was already old and stuff, but we was going through a little problems with the court in Belize that they want to take away the property from us, and there's a lot of stuff going on, but so far the property still is in my dad's name, so it's for us, and I like whoever in Belize right now listen to this or hearing this to help and support the legendary football player Magic Francis.
How can anybody that wants to support get in touch with you?
Well, they could call me at 627-5308.
So, sir, the young lady that you had staying here helping you watching the property, was she here at the time?
Well, according to understanding that she wasn't, but she stayed here, but she wasn't here at the time. And when she got here, she see the place on fire, so.
And the National Garifuna Council held its annual National Miss Garifuna pageant in Belmopan on Saturday at the Civic Center. The pageant aims to promote Garifuna culture, beauty, and pride. There were 6 contestants from communities across the country. After the performances were tallied for the different segments, Miss Dangriga Trinity Pascual was declared the winner. In second place was Miss Saint Bite Adriana Palacio, while Miss Hopkins Kyla Williams placed third. Miss Dangriga also topped the categories of Best Chumba and Best Mean Item, while Miss Saint Bite won in the segment of Best Dressed. This year's calendar of activities for Garifuna Settlement Day are being celebrated under the theme Celebrating Our Roots, Sharing Our Culture. And with that, we have come to the end of our newscast. The repeat can be viewed on this station later tonight at 9 and again tomorrow at midday. Join us again tomorrow for another news broadcast. I am Marisol Amaya. Have a safe and enjoyable evening.